Now, Rabotai Yekarim, we've spent an enormous amount of time researching all of these things, these body parts. But unfortunately, we know very little about the soul. Now, if you notice, the soul is very different than anything else. A stone, no matter whether it rains or shines, remains unchanged. No matter if a year passes or 100 years pass, remains unchanged. How long does a stone live for? Permanently. Doesn't die. May break, may change form, but it stays alive. Stays whatever it is. Now, once you put some part of a nefesh into something, that system changes immediately. For example, when you put it into a plant or a tree, now although that's nowhere near the same as a human being or even an animal, still nonetheless, this tree is going to last a really long time if no one disturbs him and no one cuts him down, but it's not permanently. There are some trees that are 500 years old or even older in the world. But nonetheless, it's not permanent. Already we see that this existence, this engine, is not supposed to be here permanently. It's here for a certain amount of time. It's like a contract. Now if you upgrade it, a higher level, you go into the chai, into a living animal, a dog, a cat, a cow. Already you see that the lifespan of this living being is much, much shorter than the tree. May live 10, 15 years, may live 30 years, but most of these animals don't live very long. With the exception of a few animals, most animals don't live very long. Without people killing them, just naturally, they don't live very long. You know, once my dog hit already his teen years, every time somebody would see him, it was like, oh, how old is he? Because he always looked like a puppy. And I'd say, oh, he's 16 years old. Wow, he's still alive? I'm like, what do you want from me? We want him to die? He ended up dying at 16, Baruch Hashem. Good dog, cute dog, served his purpose in the world, probably learned more Torah than any other dog in the world. But the point is, Rabotai, that for him to live 16 years, it's a long time for a dog of his kind. Some dogs live less. One dog that I know, my brother's dog, he had this dog, I forgot what they're called, these ugly little dogs. Pugs I think they're called. But people like them. They're so ugly, but people love them. Anyway, this dog was like a Mission Impossible. I don't know what. This dog went through hell on earth. I think when he was 1 or 2 years old, he fell down the stairs and he broke his back. Now, when they brought him to the doctor says, okay, you're going to kill him, right? You go, no, we're not going to kill him. My brother's like, no, we're going to do surgery, this, that. Long story short, he's like, listen, even if we do a surgery, maybe he's going to live another 6 months. Maybe. Go, you like the dog, let's do the dog. This dog lived another 12 years. I think the doctor died, and the dog didn't die. He broke his back, he broke his eyes, he broke his ears. Everything in his dog broke, but he continued living. He had to finish his tikkun. But still, nonetheless, temporary. Temporary. Now, The problem sometimes happens when people treat dogs like people, or people like dogs. That's the problem. Sometimes people are worse than dogs. Some people treat people like dogs. It's not good. But the worst is when people treat their dogs like people. Why? Because they forget that they're dogs. This happens with many, many dog owners, myself included. Before I understood Torah or anything, I was sure that he was better than any person I knew. And he was. But nonetheless, he was still a dog. Now, to stay relevant to the conversation, no matter how much I liked him, Hashem already decreed how long he's going to be in this world. And every animal has a certain amount of time frame it's going to be in this world that's temporary. So we see the growth from the rock that doesn't have a life, unless you go into the Kabbalistic world and so on, but nonetheless doesn't have a life. And you upgrade to the plant, you have a lifespan, long lifespan, but not permanent. Then you go to the higher, you go to the animals, and it's a shorter lifespan. But then you go to the dover, the speaker, the people. And you see that their life expectancy may be, according to statistics, somewhere in the late 70s, or maybe perhaps by now they're in the 80s. But everyone's always surprised when someone dies. Why? Because no one dies expectedly. Most people die unexpectedly. And if you look at the statistics, there are nearly 60 million people that die every single year in the world. You're talking about nearly a couple of 100,000 people die every single day without coronavirus. Of different reasons. Whether it be natural causes, car accidents, drugs, disease, and so on and so forth. Couple of 100,000 every day. More than what Corona has killed in the last few months of nightmare that everyone's been dealing with. Every single day. But you're not seeing anyone quarantine themselves so they don't die. Hashem is not putting the same craziness into people for that. Showing you that even the way we're behaving towards this virus is very, very unique and divine, as far as divine hand being involved here. How much fear we have for something that, grand scheme of things, is not exactly the end of the world. You see people like my cousin who died in his 20s, or his brother that died in his 40s, or my other cousin that died when he was 50 something, and different people that I know throughout my life that have died very young. I think something like almost 30 people from my graduating class are no longer in this world. I'm not that old, I promise. Now, that means that death is not something that has really, for a human being, does not necessarily really have a time span. You may expect to live a certain life and to live a certain amount of time, but no one promises you that. What about if your hair is perfect and your eyes are perfect and your heart is perfect and your feet are perfect and your toes are perfect and your lungs are perfect and you never smoke and you never ate cholesterol and you chewed properly and you slept properly and everything? Does that mean you can live longer? No. There are plenty of people that were in perfect shape that got heart attack in their 40s. Rabbi Yaron Reuven tells a story about his brother-in-law. One of the things that woke him up in his own life was seeing his brother-in-law that was in perfect shape, perfect physique, die in his 40s while he was exercising. Countless people die at different times. Meaning that no matter how much research we do on these different body parts and how much we take care of these body parts, It's all to no avail whatsoever when it comes to life expectancy. Now, surely you should take care of yourself and not abandon yourself to the extent where you yourself are putting yourself in harm's way. You yourself are killing yourself. You're not allowed to do that. But don't for a moment think that just because you exercise, or just because you eat a certain diet, or just because your vision is a certain thing, you are therefore going to live a certain amount of time. Complete nonsense. And just because he smoked, or just because he drank, he died at that. Nonsense. HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides. So what does that conclusion get us to? One of the things we need to think about now, since we all know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to decide how long he wants this partnership to continue. No one is promised tomorrow. I asked my rabbi at one point, should I worry about dying? He said, always. I was expecting like something nice. No, B'ezrat Hashem, you're doing good. No. He said, always. I said, never asking you a question. 5 minutes later, I asked him another question. What kind of answer is that? It shows me like a nice rabbi. He goes, always. Okay, fine. No questions. Why? That's what you're supposed to do. Always. David HaMelech was scared. If I was David HaMelech, I'd be disappointed if I died at 70. That's how long he lived, 70 years. If I was David HaMelech, at least 700 years. I said, Hashem, come on, no, I'm David HaMelech. At least 7. Put another zero on it. What do you care? You gave other people more than 7 years. Why only get 7 years? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides. HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides. So, since we already know that we came from nothing, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu has made that nothing into the something that we are today, and He is also the one that's going to decide to remove Himself from this partnership at some point. Meaning, everyone at some point will leave this world. B'ezrat Hashem, everyone gets enough years to do complete Teshuva and get to Gan Eden. However many years that takes us. Whether it's 120 or 1,020, I don't care. That's not off of my account. The point is, everyone knows it's going to happen. So what conclusion should the ideology, the ashkafa that we're getting, get us to? What then? Now that Hashem gave us this sophisticated vision, sophisticated taste patterns, sophisticated hearing, sophisticated movement of the body and joints, sophisticated digestive system, sophisticated brain, all of this stuff that He gave us. Why did He create it if it's all going to die anyway? For what? What do I need such a complicated brain if it's all going to go to the maggots anyway? What do I need these things you call fingers if it's all going to be eaten by worms? What do I need these feet? Give them to somebody that needs them. If I'm only going to be lunch one day, what do I need all this for? What you need it for is for it to help you get to the next place that you want to be. Because that neshama, that soul, that spirit, that doesn't die. That's the real you. When you say, I am, you're not talking about this body. You're talking about the unexplained, misunderstood, or just not understood thing we called the neshama. You're not talking about this body, because your body is no different than my jacket is on this body. Your body is the clothing on this neshama. And that neshama doesn't die unless you kill it. How can you kill it? By violating the contract. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a contract that if we serve our contract honorably, this neshama that we have will continue permanently. The neshama we don't understand, the neshama that we barely feel, but we know it's there, the neshama that we can't see, but we know that when it's not there, the person is just simply a piece of meat. The neshama that you don't have to be a Jew or a Gentile or even aware very much to know that it exists, because everyone knows that the person that doesn't have a neshama simply dies. You don't have to believe in God to know you have a neshama, because you know that the second that spirit leaves that body becomes just a piece of meat. You don't have to be religious for that. Everyone knows. No one can explain it. No scientist, no psychiatrist. Outside of Judaism, you can't explain it. Why is he alive and the guy next to him is dead? He has eyes, he has eyes. How come he can see, he can't see? He has hands, he has hands. How come he can move his hands, he can't move his hands? What's the difference between them? They both have the body parts. They're both 25 years old, 35 years old. They're both good looking. How come this, how come that? Why? Because you see, this one has a neshama still inside, this one has a neshama that left. No longer there. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that neshama, if it honors the contract by using that body that I gave them, that sophisticated technology that I gave them, that sophisticated suit that I gave them, with a digestive system and a vision and a hearing and a thinking and a conscience and so on, if he uses it to honor and serve me, it will not die. It will go to heaven permanently. But if it violates the contract to such a high degree without doing tshuva, it will die. But only after it's torn away from the piece that is God Himself. And that's what Gehinom is for.